Hello beautiful being, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacqui Lane, I'm the creatrix of 𝒂𝒅𝒗𝒊𝒂𝒕. I empower women to transform their relationship with money, men and their sex lives. And in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips. Is it 5? It's kind of 5 tips, maybe a few more within them. But 5 tips for how you can have a blissful, romantic, fulfilling relationship with your long-term partner, with your man. Tip number 1 is all about your authenticity and communicating authentically. So this is empowered communication. This is communication from the feminine energy. So from your Shakti power, okay? So Shakti empowered communication looks like staying in your feelings, not blaming or shaming or criticizing. It means owning your feelings and stating your authentic feelings from your feeling space. And this way of communicating with a man really enables him to hear you. It really enables him to step up into his empowered masculine energy, because you're in your feminine and this is magnetic to his empowered masculine expression. So the way to go about that, it can be very, very vulnerable, to be honest. It can feel very vulnerable, and initially you may feel mistrusting or doubtful. You may feel very scared to express your authentic feelings, because often women have a tendency to express in their wounded feminine or their imbalanced feminine, which is codependency. Or we can go to the other extreme into the wounded masculine, where we go into convincing, explaining, justifying, telling, suggesting, advising, or dictating. And so both these things really cause distance between you and your man. They don't create that heart connection, that deep connection that you desire. And so it blocks the bliss. It blocks the bliss in your relationship. And so when you come into a space of authentic self-expression from your feminine feeling space, it's about being very concise and to the point and transparent and vulnerable. And then once you have expressed your feelings, this always has to come from the I feel, or this feels blah 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 to me, not you made me feel, because that's blaming and shaming. So the first tip I have is authentic self-expression from the empowered feminine feeling space. And this concise, authentic, transparent, vulnerable way of sharing requires you to self-validate. So self-validation is key, because otherwise you may go into justifying, explaining, convincing, which is all masculine, forward-moving energy, which actually pushes him away. So for him to hear you, all you have to do is express from your feeling space. I feel sad about this. I feel amazing about this. And it's good to come from a positive as much as possible, because that really does inspire him. So that's my first tip, is to really learn the art of empowered communication. There's so many communication skills that you can try out within your relationship, but this one that I'm speaking about now has been the most incredible, game-changing, relationship-transforming tip that I could ever share with any woman, is to own her feelings, to self-validate, and to express her authentic feeling from the feeling space in a concise way with her man. And this inspires, this is magnetic. You then take your energy off him. You're not doing this to get a response from him, you're doing it to be authentic. And so you take your energy off him, you self-validate, you focus on yourself, and it's highly likely that if he loves you, he will step into his empowered masculine energy, and you being in that feminine space is going to be magnetic to that. So that's my tip number 1. That was quite a long tip, I know. Tip number 2 is to find common vision, common ground, so you're moving towards the same vision. You really do need to have some common ground within your relationship for it to thrive, and it's so that you're on the same page, so you're moving in the same direction. You don't necessarily have to be on exactly the same path or exactly the same wavelength all the time, but as long as you're on the same page and moving in the same direction and desiring the similar things within your relationship dynamic, that is so key. The third tip I have is the opposite of that, to have your individuality, to have alone time, to have your own interests, your own passions and things that you're pursuing separate from each other, so that you are both individual and that you come to the relationship with a full plate for sharing, rather than begging from each other or expecting things of each other. You come full with your full plate of juiciness and yumminess to share with each other. Tip number 4 is to prioritize time for each other, to have date nights, to prioritize time for intimacy, to prioritize time for connection, for sexual connection as well, to prioritize time for playtime together. It's so important to prioritize time for each other. This is a must if you want to thrive and really have a blissful romantic relationship with your man. And tip number 5 is about your sex life and really devoting to this. So often women shut down sexually, and it's due to the way the approach of sex is normally just masculine energy. So that is the goal-orientated type sex where it's like an excitement, a peak orgasm, then a drop in energy, and it's usually feels a little empty to women afterwards. It's very masculine, forward-moving, linear, goal-orientated, single-focused. So remember, I mentioned that in one of my other videos, that's the way masculine energy actually flows. But feminine energy is journey-orientated, fluid, cyclical, has diffuse awareness. So it's the complete opposite, and if you're not honoring that, then it can shut a woman down. Literally, physically, it can actually cause damage and trauma to your yoni, because it's very much friction, excitement, get to the end goal as quick as possible. And this like fast, friction-based, goal-orientated sex can really cause a woman to shut down over time. And so the way that you can heal this is to understand that there's actually other expressions of sexual energy. There's a different way of expressing sexually, and it's really about slowing right down. And it's about bringing in healing, like sex magic together and on your own, healing, and also intimacy and Shakti, feminine energy flow, as well as the Shiva, masculine flow. Because if it's only masculine energy driven sex, it causes an imbalance within your body, within your relationship, within your whole life. Like, it has a real knock-on effect to women's confidence, to their vitality, to their expression in the world, to what they're creating, how they're receiving. It really, really, really does impact every area of your life. And there are ways where you can heal from this imbalance. So we have been taught only masculine sex. We've been taught to have sex to reproduce. So that's a goal. That's like means to an end. We get taught from porn and the movies, which is very much masculine sex. And so we need to start understanding what feminine sex is, what that looks like for us as individually as women, and how to actually inspire our men to want to explore that with us. These are all things that I help my clients with in my one-to-one programs, my group programs, my online courses. So just have a look in the description box below. I'll leave some links to some of my current offerings and my online course, Reawaken Your Yoni. That's really where to start with that. So those are my 5 tips. So I'm just going to recap those for you. So the first tip was authentic self-expression and authentic, transparent, vulnerable communication from the empowered feminine feeling space. Tip number 1. Tip number 2 was common vision, common ground, being on the same page, moving towards the same vision within the relationship. Tip number 3 was to have separate interests and passions and visions and individuality. So tip number 4 was prioritizing time, and tip number 5 was around sex and to start implementing feminine sex, feminine sexual energy flow, and to really start honoring your Shakti within your sexual expression within your relationship. All these things link to your pleasure compass, and these are all things that I teach in my programs. So if you're interested to find out more, then like I say, just have a look in the description box and I'll leave some links in there for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you received some benefit from this today. Have an amazing day and remember to keep it juicy.